The baby was fine. That was what every measurement said. The dog did not agree with any of the measurements. Fiona Marchetti designed brand identities. She was meticulous about information hierarchy, about which signals demanded attention and which were background noise. She applied the same logic to her home, to her routines, to her 11-month-old daughter, Isla, and to Atlas, their 3-year-old Bernese mountain dog, who had been steady and unbothered for his entire life until the second week of October. Isla had a mild cold. Pediatrician confirmed it. Clear lungs, good color, appropriate temperature, no wheeze, viral, likely rhinovirus, monitor for changes, follow up if needed. They followed up in their minds every few hours and found nothing concerning. Isla was fussy. Isla was tired. Isla was 11 months old with a cold, and children with colds are fussy and tired. Atlas was not buying any of it. He began sleeping in the doorway of the nursery. Not in the room, the doorway, threshold position, head pointed toward the crib, oriented. He had never done this before. Fiona noted it the first night and attributed it to the disrupted routine of a sick child crying more than usual. Dogs pick up on stress. That was a known thing. She moved him twice before he simply returned. She stopped moving him. On the second night, he moved closer, from the doorway to the crib rail, his nose at the slat level, pressing toward Isla's face in the slow breath-reading way that she had read about but had never actually seen. She pulled him back. He returned. She put up a baby gate across the nursery door. He stood at the gate with his nose through the bars for 4 hours. Her husband, Theo, came home from a late shift and found this setup and said, "Something is bothering him about the room. Maybe she's running warmer than the thermometer caught." Fiona had already checked twice. Normal. She said, "He's just anxious because she's been crying more." She had read exactly 2 paragraphs about how dogs respond to sick infants, and both paragraphs had used the word anxious. She used the word the same way the paragraphs had. It felt like evidence. On the third night, at 2:06 a.m., Atlas cleared the baby gate. He had never in 3 years attempted to clear a barrier. He went over it and was at the crib and was pressing his nose between the slats toward Isla's face when the sound of the impact woke Fiona. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. She was in the nursery in 30 seconds and pulled Atlas away and then looked at Isla. Isla was asleep. Isla looked fine. The slight flush of a child with a cold. The normal small movements of infant sleep. Then she noticed the rhythm. She had not been watching Isla breathe before. She watched now. The rise of the tiny chest was faster than it should have been, and at the base of the throat, at the soft hollow above the collarbone, a small pulling inward with each breath. Subcostal recession. She did not know that term yet, but she would by morning. She called the pediatric nurse line at 2:14 a.m. The nurse asked 3 questions and said, "Get to the ER now." Has your dog ever done something you couldn't explain until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Isla's oxygen saturation at the emergency entrance was 86%. The attending physician, Dr. Yolanda Marsh, 12 years in pediatric emergency, had Isla on supplemental oxygen within 3 minutes of arrival. She diagnosed RSV bronchiolitis, respiratory syncytial virus, a common cause of lower respiratory infection in infants under 12 months. The clear lungs from the Wednesday appointment had been accurate for Wednesday. By Friday night, the inflammation had reached the small airways and the obstruction had been building for hours. Dr. Marsh said, "You caught this at the edge of the window. The oxygen level you came in with would have required intubation within a few more hours. Another 4 hours at home, and we would be looking at a very different night." She said, "What made you check her breathing when you did?" Fiona said, "The dog jumped the gate. Every guardian deserves to be seen, even the ones who never ask for anything in return." If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Atlas was on the nursery floor when they brought Isla home 4 days later, in the same position he had held all week. He did not perform relief. He lifted his head when she came in, and he watched Theo set her down in the crib, and then he put his head back on his paws and exhaled once. Fiona stood in the doorway for a long time. The next story involves a dog who went very still in a backyard and refused to let a toddler take one more step.